As you can see on the map, the date is in the top left-hand corner, and we have the map legend in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. As German units cross the frontier, the 291st makes the biggest gains that first day, pushing to the outskirts of the city of Liepaja. The main thrust in this sector comes from the 21st, 1st, and 11th Infantry Divisions in the 1st Corps, push the Soviet 90th, 125th, and 10th Rifle Divisions up to 30 kilometers from their initial positions. Now let's transition to the 4th Panzer Group sector. The 4th Panzer was very quick out of the gate, especially the 8th Panzer Division, which found multiple gaps in the Soviet border defenses, and by nightfall they had penetrated over 70 kilometers and put up multiple bridgeheads across the Dubisa. Let's transition to the 16th Army sector. On that first day, the 16th Army pushed back the 5th, 33rd, 188th, and 128th Rifle Divisions and approached the city of Kaunas. In the early morning hours of the 23rd of June, the front commander Kuznetsov ordered the 12th and 3rd Mechanized Corps to attack the German spearheads. The 12th Mechanized Corps moved south, but instead of engaging the Panzer spearheads, engaged the 18th Army, specifically the 1st, 11th, and 21st Infantry Divisions. While this was occurring, the 291st was engaging the 67th in the city of Liepaja and pushing them out of the city. The Soviet 12th Mechanized Corps was engaging the 18th Army. The 3rd Mechanized Corps was starting to engage the German spearheads. German 6th Panzer Division and the Soviet 2nd Tank Division engaged each other in heavy tank-on-tank combat around the city of Rasani. The 8th Panzer was speeding towards the Dvina River and trying to throw up a bridgehead across the Dvina for follow-up forces. The 16th Army continues its general eastward advance, capturing Kaunas on the 24th of June. By this point, the Soviet forces were heavily disorganized and had suffered extreme losses in the first days of battle. On the eve of the 25th, Kuznetsov ordered a general retreat to the city of Riga. The 8th Army that opposed the Germans then began a full-scale retreat to Riga and the Dvina River line. After several days of heavy tank-on-tank combat around the village of Rasani, the 1st Panzer and the 290th Infantry Division encircled the 2nd Tank and the 48th Rifle Division. Ahead of the ongoing combat around Rasani, the 8th Panzer reaches the Dvina on the morning of the 26th of June, and through a sort of coup with the assistance of combat engineers and a company of Brandenburgers, they're able to capture the rail and road bridge fully intact and are able to establish themselves on the other side of the Dvina. On the night of the 25th, Kuznetsov, the front commander, ordered the 11th Army to retreat eastwards. The 11th Army was in a bit of a precarious situation, as they were under constant engagement from the west and the 16th Army coming straight at them, and to their south was the 3rd Panzer Army from Army Group Center that was engaging them as well. So they were forced to fall back in a more northeasterly direction than they originally wanted. The 8th Army was now in full retreat to the Dvina River line, and they were able to break contact with the pursuing 18th Army in some places. Several Soviet units are still trapped in their pocket. By the end of the 27th of June, the 48th Rifle Division had managed to escape through a narrow gap to the northeast. By the end of the 28th of June, the 48th Rifle was able to rejoin Soviet lines. The German 8th Panzer encountered a new enemy in its bridgehead across the Dvina. The 21st Mechanized Corps with the 46th and 42nd Tank Divisions and the 185th Motorized Rifle Division was now blocking its way deeper into the Soviet Union. By the 27th of June, the 11th Army was in full retreat to the Dvina River, and the German 16th Army was doing its best to catch up with the panzers of the 4th Panzer Group. The Soviet 8th Army was in full retreat to the Dvina River line, with the 61st and 217th approaching the city of Riga itself and starting to engage the Soviet forces in the suburbs of that city. By the end of the 30th of June, most Soviet forces had crossed the Dvina River and had taken up their defensive positions to stop the Germans from further advancing into the Soviet Union. The Soviet 21st Mechanized Corps tried its best to dislodge the 8th Panzer Division from its bridgehead. Late on the 29th of June, the 3rd Motorized and then the SS Totenkopf Division crossed the Dvina, assisted the 8th Panzer Division in holding and then expanding on the bridgehead. Late on the 29th of June, the 1st Panzer and the 6th Panzer both established 2 separate bridgeheads across the Dvina. The Soviet position was looking more and more untenable on the other side of the Dvina, with 3 Panzer, 2 motorized infantry divisions, and 1 infantry division across the river. It was only a matter of time before they further broke through the Soviet lines. By the 30th of June, most of the Soviet 11th Army had already crossed the Dvina River. The German 16th Army was doing its best to catch up with the panzers of the 4th Panzer Group. Now for the final day, July 1st, let's zoom out and see the entire battle space of the northern sector. As you can see from the zoomed out map, the German forces in the northern sector had crossed the Dvina River in multiple locations. On this day, the 61st Infantry Division captured the city of Riga, and the 4th Panzer Group consolidated its positions across the Dvina River, while the 16th Army was catching up to the 4th Panzer Group. We joined German Army Group North on the Dvina River line, with the 4th Panzer Group preparing an offensive to strike deeper into the Soviet Union. On the 2nd of July, the 4th Panzer Group's offensive begins. In the 18th Army sector, the 67th Rifle Division is destroyed as the 8th Army retreats deeper into Latvia and Estonia. As this is happening, the 4th Panzer Group is advancing deep behind Soviet lines. The 1st and 6th Panzer Division on the 2nd and 3rd of July advanced nearly 75 kilometers and are roughly 20 kilometers from Ostrov. The Soviet 27th and 11th Armies have been pulling back to the Stalin defensive line, which is a strong series of defensive positions on the old Soviet border. On the 4th of July, the German 41st Motorized Corps, with the 1st and 6th Panzer Divisions at the forefront, continued to push towards the city of Ostrov. Also on the 4th and 5th, the German 56th Motorized Corps, including the 8th Panzer, 3rd Motorized, and the SS Division Totenkopf, continued to push towards the city of Opachka. By capturing this town, the 56th Motorized Corps hopes to outflank the 27th Army and make it easier to push on Pskov. To assist the 4th Panzer Group's push on Pskov, the German 18th Army is chasing the Soviet 8th Army into Estonia, and the German 16th Army is covering the 4th Panzer Group's flank and pushing on the town of Veliki Luki. As the Germans push closer to the city of Pskov, the Soviets continue to send more reinforcements and multiple rifle divisions to the defense of the city. In the early morning hours of July 6, the 1st Panzer Division pushes the remaining Soviet units of the 111th and 181st Rifle Divisions out of the city of Ostrov, capturing it for the Germans. With the 4th Panzer Group's first major tactical objective accomplished, the rest of the 41st Motorized Corps moves quickly to capture Pskov. With the 1st Panzer moving up the main highway and the 36th moving on secondary roads, the Germans hope to quickly capture the city and break the Soviet lines. In the 18th Army sector, several German divisions have been earmarked for the capture of Estonia, and they are quickly moving into the southern parts of Estonia. The German 16th Army is fighting off attacks from the Soviet 11th Army and the newly formed Soviet 22nd Army. The Soviet 8th Army has built a series of defensive positions from Parnu on the Baltic coast through Tartu near to Lake Peipus. They are hoping this series of defensive positions can hold up the German 18th Army's advance into the Baltics. On the 8th of July, the German 3rd Motorized Division pushes the Soviet 118th and 90th Rifle Divisions out of the city of Pskov, capturing the city for the Germans. The 1st and 6th Panzer Divisions advance and set up defensive positions north and east of the city. The 56th Motorized Corps is given new orders to move to the sector east of the city of Pskov and prepare to advance to the east. With the capture of the city of Pskov, the 4th Panzer Group is roughly 300 kilometers from Army Group North's ultimate objective of Leningrad. Early on July 10th, the German 217th Division captures the port of Parnu on the Baltic Sea, and together with the 61st Division advance into central Estonia. Meanwhile, the German 41st Motorized Corps continues its advance north of Pskov. The Soviet 118th Rifle Division is pushed towards the village of Godov, and the 90th Rifle Division is pummeled by German airstrikes and units of the 1st Panzer Division. The main tactical objective for the Germans at this point in the campaign is the city of Luga, which is the gateway to the region of Leningrad. The 56th Motorized Corps continues its advance north. Due to the rough terrain around the town of Luga, the 1st and 6th Panzer Divisions swing northwest and try to outflank Soviet defenses around Luga by way of the Lake Somro route. The 41st Motorized Corps continues to push northeast towards Lake Ilmen. After encountering stiff resistance in central Estonia, the Germans choose to send 3 more infantry divisions into central Estonia to help them break through the Soviet defenses there. To stop or slow down the ongoing German assaults, the Soviet Union has set up an army-level command called the Luga Operational Group. Along with the 237th and 70th Rifle Divisions, the Soviets are continuing to pour heavy reinforcements into defending the approaches to Leningrad. The 1st and 6th Panzer Divisions have swung around Lake Samro but cannot gain much territory on the other side of the Luga River, as the Soviet 191st and 177th Rifle Divisions stop a deeper advance. The German 8th Panzer Division has almost reached Lake Ilmen, but its position is tenuous at best. It is surrounded on 2 sides by multiple Soviet divisions and is currently awaiting reinforcements before advancing further. The German 16th Army is covering the Army Group's eastern flank and has 6 infantry divisions in position on the 15th of July, and it has more marching in to join the defensive positions. Finally, we get to the 18th Army's sector. Currently, we have 5 German infantry divisions that are preparing for an offensive to push the Soviets out of Estonia and to capture the major city and port of Tallinn. As the Germans are invading deeper into the Soviet Union, their forces are starting to disperse over a wider area. In this episode, the 3 battle spaces I will be focused on are the German and Soviet pushes around the town of Soltsy, the Finnish offensive action in Karelia, and the German pushes into Estonia. Alright guys, let's jump into the episode with the 4th Panzer Group's actions around the town of Soltsy. As we start the episode, let's jump in on the German divisions of the 56th Motorized Corps. As you can see on screen, the German 8th Panzer Division is overstretched and nearly out of supply. The Germans don't know yet, but the Soviets have been preparing a counterattack around the town of Soltsy. Early in the morning on July 15th, the Soviets begin their counterattack. With the 70th Rifle Division leading the charge from the north and the 182nd Division leading the charge from the southeast, the Soviets are able to quickly cut off the 8th Panzer Division. Erich von Manstein, the commander of the German 56th Motorized Corps, sees the precarious situation the 8th Panzer is in, and orders a breakout to be attempted the next day on July 16th. In the early morning hours of July 16th, the 8th Panzer abandons the city of Soltsy and pushes on towards the Shelon River. The SS Infantry Division Totenkopf is ordered northeast to meet them on the Shelon River and hold open the avenue of escape for the 8th Panzer. By the end of the day, on the 16th of July, the SS Totenkopf Division has reached the Shelon River and held open the gap for the 8th Panzer. The 8th Panzer makes good its escape, but in the process of evacuating Soltsy, it loses more than half of its armored vehicles. To the south of the Soltsy battlefield, the 180th and 181st Rifle have pushed the Germans out of the town of No. As we can see on the map, using its numerical superiority, the Soviets hope to push past the Shelon River and retake the cities of Pskov and even threaten the recently captured major city of Pskov. On the 17th and 18th of July, the German Totenkopf Division and the 3rd Motorized Division are able to hold the Shelon River line. The Soviets are desperate to break the German defense on the river line and throw multiple wave attacks against the river line in an attempt to find a gap in the German defenses. The Totenkopf Division and the 3rd Motorized Division hold firm, and the Soviet wave attacks peter out against the river line. Due to the successful German defense on the river line, the 11th and 21st Infantry Divisions are able to recapture the city of No. On the 19th of July, the 8th Panzer is moved behind German lines to rebuild it back to full strength. On the 20th of July, the Germans go over to a general counteroffensive. The Soviets, having seen their efforts to destroy several German divisions fail, fall back in utter disarray. As we zoom out, we can see more of the Soltsy battle space, and the Germans, with their general counteroffensive, begin to recapture cities and towns that they had previously lost. On the 22nd and 23rd of July, the Germans continued their counteroffensive. On the 22nd of July, the German 11th Infantry Division recaptures the city of Soltsy, and the 21st Infantry Division pushes up against the city of Volat. As we can see, the Soviet counterattacks had failed, but it did do one thing: it scared the German high command enough, where on the 23rd of July, Army Group North paused all future offensive actions until their positions were further solidified. The Finnish forces in this sector are still upset at the results of the Winter War a year and a half previously with the Soviets, and they have put together the Army of Karelia under Axel Heinrich to march into East Karelia and retake the lands lost during the Winter War. On July 10th, the right wing of Axel Heinrich's Army of Karelia, the Finnish 6th Corps, crosses the border and enters the Soviet Union. In the first week of open combat in what would be called the Continuation War, the Finnish 11th and 5th Infantry Divisions push back the Soviet 198th Rifle and the 71st Rifle Divisions from its border defensive positions. By the end of the first week of open combat, the Finnish 11th Infantry Division had cut the rail link in this sector, which severely disrupted supplies getting to the Soviet 168th Rifle. On the 19th of July, the Soviet 7th Corps gets in on the action, with the Finnish 7th, 19th, and 2nd Infantry Divisions advancing south and east. On the 20th of July, the 7th Infantry Division captures the town of Vortisla and advances south, pushing the 168th Rifle before it. The Soviet 168th Rifle Division is now cut off from overland supply routes and is being pursued by multiple Finnish infantry divisions and begins to fall back to the town of Sordavla. On the 24th of July, the Finnish 1st Brigade reaches the northeastern shores of Lake Ladoga and begins to advance down its eastern side. Zooming out a little bit, on the 26th of July, the Finnish 1st Brigade continues its march down the coast of Lake Ladoga, and the units of the Finnish 7th Corps continue to press the 168th Rifle Division around the town of Sordlava. By the end of the month of July, after nearly 3 weeks of open combat against the Soviets, the Finns had captured most of northeastern Karelia, and the next stage of the Continuation War was to begin soon. In this sector, we have the German 18th Army that is trying to push further up the Baltic states. And on the 22nd of July, they are about to start an offensive that they hope will push the Soviets out of Estonia forever. On the 22nd of July, the German 254th and 61st Infantry Divisions immediately push to the east, overwhelming the Soviet 11th Rifle Division. The two German infantry divisions move quickly, and on the 24th of July, they captured the city of Tagava. While the two German infantry divisions continued their main push east, the German 93rd Infantry Division pushes up north from Tartu. On the 26th of July, the German 254th Infantry Division captures the town of Mustri on the shores of Lake Peipus, thereby cutting off the retreat of the Soviet 125th and 48th Rifle Divisions. Over the next few days, the German infantry divisions reduce the Soviet pocket on the lake, and nearly 9,000 Soviet soldiers become prisoners of war, and the rest escape back to Soviet lines. Now, with the Soviet forces in Estonia weakened by the destruction of nearly 2 Soviet rifle divisions, we can see the German strategy for the rest of the offensive unfolding. The Germans are aiming to split the Soviet 8th Army in half and then push on Tallinn. On the 28th of July, the Germans continue their offensive. The German 254th, 61st, 93rd, and 217th Infantry Divisions immediately push north. Due to the weakening of the Soviet forces in this sector, the Germans make a quick breakthrough and nearly reach the city of Rakove. As the situation continues to deteriorate, the Soviet High Command sends the 118th Rifle Division to Rakove to try to hold the important rail junction to Tallinn. With the Germans now cutting the main rail line to Tallinn, the Soviet forces in Estonia are getting harder to supply, and the Soviet 8th Army is now starting the retreat to the east. There are several Soviet rifle divisions that will not be able to retreat east. With the rail line being cut, they are now trapped in the defense of Tallinn. The Germans continued their offensive, and on August 6th, they capture the city of Rakove. The Soviet 11th Rifle Division is doing its best to escape the 254th Infantry Division and trying to escape to the east. On the 7th of August, the German 254th Infantry Division reaches the coast near Kunda, thereby cutting Estonia in half. With the Germans having reached the coast, the remaining Soviet rifle divisions in Estonia fall back around Tallinn. The German-Estonian offensive is to be considered a major success. It pushed the Soviet 8th Army out of Estonia and successfully isolated the major Soviet port of Tallinn. Now let's zoom out from the Estonian battle space to the larger Operation Barbarossa strategic map. In the central part of the front, you have the German 4th Panzer Group, which had regained the initiative in the Soltsy area. And in the north, you have the Finnish Army of Karelia, which had pushed back the Soviet 7th Army and made significant inroads into eastern Karelia. And finally, in the Estonian sector, you have the German 18th Army, which had split the Soviet 8th Army in half and captured most of Estonia. The Germans had just fought off an intense Soviet counterattack around the village of Soltsy, and the German 18th Army had split the Soviet 8th Army in half and was pushing on the city of Tallinn and towards the city of Narva. This is where the front line stood at the end of episode 4, with the Germans holding territory displayed visually on screen in black and the Soviets holding territory that is visually displayed on screen in a red color. To prepare for their upcoming offensive, the Germans have spent time the last week or so consolidating their positions, pushing forward in the Luga sector, taking better defensible terrain, and generally pushing the Soviets onto the defensive in this whole sector. By August 8th, the German 8th Panzer Division had finished its refitting around the town of Pskov and had pushed northwest to join the 4th Panzer Group. The 4th Panzer Group in the Narva sector was preparing its troops and tanks for a deep push closer to the city of Leningrad, and hopefully also as a side objective, cutting off the retreating Soviet 8th Army from Estonia. On August 8th, the Germans were ready to launch the first phase of their offensive. The German 41st Motorized Corps, comprising the 36th Motorized Division and the 1st and 6th Panzer Divisions, immediately pushed past their bridgehead on the Luga River, and within the first 2 days of their offensive, had reached near the town of Kingsep and cut the Narva-Leningrad road, which severely limited the 8th Army's retreat from Estonia. The German 1st and 58th Infantry Divisions followed behind, moving up the Narva road and trying to cut off the remaining Soviet divisions retreating frantically from Estonia. A couple dozen kilometers past the Luga bridgehead, the 1st, 6th, and now 8th Panzer Divisions nearly destroyed the Soviet 1st Tank Division and were consolidating their positions before pushing further. While elements of the 4th Panzer Group were advancing in the Narva sector, other elements of the 4th Panzer Group and several corps of the 16th Army were preparing their own offensive in the Novgorod sector. On the 10th of August, the various corps and divisional elements of the 16th Army began their attack towards Novgorod. Supported by the German 8th Air Corps, led by its highly trained and specialized pilots, they were able to break open a path, and the 21st and 11th Infantry Divisions led the way towards Novgorod, pushing all Soviet forces before them. And by the 16th and 17th of August, elements of the 21st and 11th German Infantry Divisions were fighting the Soviet 128th Rifle Division in the streets of Novgorod. Now moving to the Staraya Russa sector during that same period of time. For the Soviet counteroffensive, they had earmarked 8 rifle divisions and the cavalry division as well, with the objective of recapturing Staraya Russa and the town of No, and destroying the 16th Army's 10th Infantry Corps. The offensive started on the 12th of August and immediately threatened to overwhelm and trap the 10th Infantry Corps against Lake Ilmen. Ritter von Lieb was forced to transfer the SS Division Totenkopf to the area. Soon that order was amended to also include the 3rd Motorized Division and elements of Erich von Manstein's 56th Panzer Corps, which was already heavily engaged around Luga. By the 17th of August, the Soviets were less than a dozen kilometers from the town of No, now transitioning back to the Narva sector and covering the events from August 18th to August 24th. On the 18th of August, the German 1st Infantry Division conquered the town of Kingsep, while the 291st occupied Narva from the west and the 58th Infantry Division occupied Narva from the south. Under the threat of being cut off from Leningrad, the Soviet 8th Army started to withdraw onto the Korporetsky Plateau on the 21st of August. By August 24th, the Germans were astride the Narva-Leningrad highway and only 100 to 125 kilometers from the city itself. Knowing the precariousness of their situation, the Soviet High Command decided to send several Soviet rifle divisions to try to contain the German thrust from the west. The Soviet 8th Army now found itself on the Korporetsky Plateau, a very advantageous defensive position, but isolated from the city of Leningrad by a series of small coastal towns. The Soviets decided to try to hold this strong defensive position against the ongoing German assault. The Soviet 48th Army launched a counterattack to retake the city of Novgorod from the Germans. The battle for the eastern part of Novgorod lasted until 19th-20th of August. Strong German air support ultimately ensured the German success in the battle. During the Battle of Novgorod, the left wing of the German 1st Corps advanced to the town of Chudvo. The 11th Infantry Division now secured the right flank of the corps on the Volkhov section and the Volkhov River, while the 21st German Infantry Division conquered Chudvo on the 20th of August, interrupting the important railway line there. The next day, several Soviet counterattacks on units of the 1st Army Corps were repelled, and the main targets of the 16th Army had been reached. While this had been occurring, the German 28th Corps was pushing to capture the town of Luga, with the SS Polizei Division and the 122nd Infantry Division squeezing the Soviets that now are becoming trapped in the Luga pocket. Over 8 Soviet rifle divisions and a tank division are now mostly encircled by the 24th of August. Now to the Staraya Russa sector and the Soviet counterattack going on there. The German 56th Panzer Corps was ready to attack on the 19th of August. The German attack caught the 34th Army completely by surprise in their exposed flank, with the German 3rd Motorized Division swinging south past No and attacking the 25th Cavalry from the south, and the Totenkopf Division swinging north. They were able to encircle 4 Soviet rifle divisions and a cavalry division. The 34th Army was badly damaged and was attempting to withdraw over the Lovat River. By the 23rd of August, the 56th Panzer Corps had reached the Lovat River and helped to recapture Staraya Russa, having captured 15,000 men from a retreating 34th Army. The German 56th Panzer Corps and the German 10th Infantry Corps spent the next several days mopping up Soviet prisoners of war.